Alright, I can't spend time in the arrays, you should know them. And I need to talk to you about we're going to start doing GUIs today. We need to revisit the inheritance. So how's the inheritance? Do you have a good grasp on it? When you implement a class? Do you want me to revisit something? Well, if you don't tell me, I won't know. So, first I gotta talk to you about abstract classes. So we had made a class here, and we had class student. So anything that the class person has, the student class has, right? So in the main program, I could declare two variables. I could say me is a new person, you a new student, right? There's nothing new here. Me is a person, right? You're a student, but also you're a person, right? So, we'll do this. Well, I created a new student, and that student is assigned to a person. Well, the student is the child, and the person is the parent, right? So when you can do this stuff, we call it polymorphism. All it is I can declare parent. I use and instantiate the child. So let's say the person has, I'm just gonna put a name here. Getter or read accessor called get name and returning name. And the student will have But before I change this, let's put this back to student. So I could do me dot get name, right? Because that exists in the person. I could also do it here. In the student, because the student is a person, so therefore the get name exists. I can do you that get GPA, assuming I'm printing this on the screen, of course. Or I couldn't do me that get GPA. I couldn't do that, right? Because me is a person and the GPA exists on the child class. So I can't do that. However, if I wanted to change this to a person, this will get me an error. Because it'll say, well, GPA is not in person. Well, I created a student. But how do I convert this to that? Well, it's very simple. We can cast this by putting the type, right? I'm not put parentheses, and that will work. I don't get an error. So what do we have this kind of stuff? Like what do we use the polymorphism for? For instance, I have a class called male, and I have two children classes. One is incoming male, and the other one is outgoing male. So I can create methods that takes a parameter of class male, and then I can decide if it's incoming or outgoing. There's only a few different things between the two. For the most part, the incoming and the outgoing male has pretty much the same properties and methods, except that the incoming has the read and the outgoing has the method called send, but they're pretty much the same. And it's going to make more sense to you when we start talking about GUIs. Now, let's say I don't want to have person by themselves. What do you mean? Well, I don't want to be able to create only a person. I want to be able to create a student. I may have another class called employee, also inherited from the class person. So basically, I want to force you to use the child class. So there's this type of class I'm going to add the keyword abstract. And at that point, this will give me an error. Why? Because the computer where I want to force whoever's programming using my class to use one of the children classes. So This will make sense in a second. Questions? All right. So let's use the actual classes we're gonna be using today. So there's this class called component. I think it extends the container. It's another class called container. But anyways, in this class component, it has every method that exists in the class object, right? Like toString and stuff like that. But also contains some methods paint on the screen. So I could make method. Actually, I could make methods also be abstract. I'm gonna call this paint. And this method paint takes I'm just gonna put GR for short. Actually, this is abstract. So when I have a method that is abstract, I don't have curly brackets. What does this method abstract mean? That means it has to be implemented. Actually, I'll take it back. I think you can have it. Let me check real quick. So basically, when we have a method that's abstract, it means the child class is supposed to implement it too. I want to make sure the paint method is abstract. There's another method called repaint. I don't know the code, but it exists there. Yeah, it was correct before. So that means I have this class component. It's abstract, that means it has to be inherited. But I have a few methods and properties there that I kinda need. And then I have this child class. I'm gonna call this JButton. There's buttons on the screen. And these ones extends the component. And of course, there's like plenty more methods there. And this one has a constructor. That takes string as a parameter. And basically, it takes the text to display the button. There's this other class called GUI text field, also inherited from the component. This one takes the constructor, takes an integer, not a string. To indicate how many characters you want to display on the text box. You kind of like the width. And so on. You have a lot of classes. Let's do another one. There's another one called label, which displays basically static text. You know, you have a label, then you have a text box where users enter the data. And it also takes a text as a string as a constructor. Now, we need to have a window where we're going to put all these controls. In this window, there's a class called frame. Or JFrame. Oh, I forgot to mention here. In this class component, there's a method called add. And it takes another component as parameter, kind of like we did with the airports. So in here, the frame will inherit that component. So the frame is also a component, right? So you can have components inside components, meaning that you can have a group box. We have a window that has a group box, and the group box has buttons, and the buttons have images, and there's no limitation there. No, now this frame, this JFrame, what it does, it gives you a canvas. It kind of gives you like this blank canvas. But if you want to display components, you know, when you open your Windows Explorer, you have two panes. or you can have one, just one. That's called a panel. So what we usually do is we create a panel where we add our buttons and text boxes or text fields in this case, labels, all these other components, and we group them in this class called panel. And then we just add panels to the window. So this polymorphism business, here I have a method called add that takes a component. The component could be either of these children classes. This method add, I could add an image, I could add a button, I could add a panel, whatever. I don't have a method add for each one of them. I just take the component, which is the parent, and then I don't lose the identity of the children when I add it. If I want to access, what did the user enter in the text field, then I'll call this method called getText. So far so good? Alright. So all this is inside a library. The library is Java X .swing. So you will import that with all subclasses. Am I going too fast? I'm good? Alright. So let's take 5 minutes and then we'll work on this on the computer.